Many of you know Dwayne Jones. He is the co-chair of the Envisioning Our Future Committee with me as the chair. And we are going to start the meeting today with our acknowledgements. And I will go first. Dwayne, you will, I'll do the land acknowledgement first. Okay. NSCAD University is located in Jabuktuk, the district of Sebeganegani, Mi'kma'ki, which since time immemorial has been the unceded traditional territory and ancestral homelands of the Mi'kmaq Nation. We pay respect to the historic and contemporary Mi'kmaq artists who have, over millennia, created unique art forms and designs, and through generations passed down ways of being, knowing, and doing that are valued and respected. NSCAD University is committed to forging a relationship, based on reciprocity as we move forward together in a good way, based on the foundational aspirations in our collective treaties dating back to 1725. In Nova Scotia, we recognize we are all treaty people.
All right, and I will do the people's acknowledgement. NSCAD acknowledges the historical and contemporary presence of people of African descent. We offer this people's acknowledgement in solidarity with the Indigenous people of Turtle Island in the efforts and deliberate intentions toward decolonization. African Nova Scotians have existed and persisted on the traditional land of the Mi'kmaq for more than 400 years. Our significant presence and contributions have shaped the existence of Nova Scotia. We are resilient, brave, and spiritual, and express pride in our ancestors on whose shoulders we stand. This acknowledgement brings with it a call to action to reconcile the harms acted upon African Nova Scotians, a distinct people, and the Mi'kmaq people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. First of all, I think I've met all of you, but I'll just, because I can't help myself, I'll just say hello. I'm Peggy Shannon, and I'm the president of NSCAD. And Dwayne, do you want to do a quick intro of yourself?
Yeah, I think I met most people.
Probably.
I'm I was most recently vice president. Yeah, that was my last role of the NSCAD Alumni Association, and I graduated from NSCAD in 2004 in communication design, and I work in Dow in web communications, and I do art and clothing, fun stuff, and a podcast.
He's wearing some of his clothing design, so I want to just do a pitch for, he does really cool stuff. So Art Pays Me, red sweatshirt. Trina, want to say thank you for setting this up. Is there anything you would like to say before we get started?
Looking forward to seeing anyone who's going to stop by for the alumni tour on Saturday.
Right. Does everybody know about that? Okay. No, somebody's saying no, Trina.
All right, so during Portfolio Day, we're going to be activating the Fountain Campus, which is the campus on Duke Street, and alumni are welcome to stop by. The tour is going to start at 11 a.m. and probably run about an hour. Will give us time to mount all those stairs. And then we're going to have a little meet and greet afterwards in the Bell Auditorium.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Trina. Ashley, as the new president, would you like to say anything? The new alumni president?
I just love to see faces and engagement. So taking notes of who's showing up. Thank you for being here.
So with that, everybody, I'm going to just go ahead and provide a context for this open forum that we're going to have this evening. We're going to try to keep this to an hour. 90 minutes feels a bit long. So I think we can manage this over the next 60 minutes, and I'll really try to make use of everybody's time. So as you probably know, the university has been in a visioning of the future phase. We are building a new strategic plan for NSCAD, which didn't have one when I arrived. And as I mentioned, Dwayne is the co-chair of what we call our Envisioning Our Future Committee with about 26 members, comprised of students, faculty, staff, technicians, alumni, thought leaders, practicing artists, and people in Toronto and also in the States who are in the arts. So we've had a really interesting year of intense engagement around what's important for the future. And then throughout the fall and now this is the last stakeholder meeting. You are saved the best for last for our alumni. We are meeting in small groups like this to talk about what you think is important for the future of NASCAD. What are the things that you want to see going forward? And so we'll circle back to that. And this is your opportunity to talk about that. And I will just give you a quick timeline so you understand where we're at in the process. We have this engagement opportunity tonight with you. And then we are working pretty hard on getting a full draft in place that we will begin to socialize with the Advancement Committee of the Board of Governors, because the Advancement Committee actually, I guess, Bill, if I'm saying this right, owns the strategic planning. And from there, probably in April, May, we will come back to the Advancement Committee with an edited draft, which will then hopefully be put forward to the full board in June and adopted by the full board in June, so that July 1st, we are rolling out our Seriously Creative Strategic Plan, 2024 to 2030. So that is the timeline. And we've had some very interesting discussions as a committee, and also now we've met with students in these kinds of small groups now, coming back to say, what do you see for the future? Students, faculty, technicians, staff, administration. We will be discussing now with you alumni, and we'll be talking with board as well. So that's the starting point to the discussion tonight. And I'll just kick it off and I'll say, if we could just do a quick round robin of what are the things that to you really are absolutely key to your feeling about NASCAD as it goes into the future. There are no wrong answers. Elliot, I'm calling on you first. Oh yeah, unmute.
I mean, I was thinking a little bit about this earlier in advance of the meeting, and I think just the continued freedom to explore media and explore creativity in different ways. My feeling is there's always been this tension to some degree in the arts between educating people to just really open up and be artistic and explore things and try things. And then also this sense that, we probably need to educate them so that they can have a career.
Yes.
And I think that there is that is a really fine balance, and one that it has to carefully be explored. So I think the school needs to strike that balance, which, gives people the tools to be able to succeed, so that you're not ignoring that and pretending like it doesn't matter, because it does.
Right.
But not becoming one of those, institutions that prescribes the programming and the curriculum so much that people don't feel they can carve out their own space within it. Yeah,
no, that's excellent. Really well put. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, Joelle, what do you think? I see that head nodding. What are your thoughts? Future.
Unmute myself here. I agree with what Elliot said completely. It's been a while since I've been at NASCAD, and what I remember from my experience there was the pure freedom we did have. It was incredible. And it did help to for students, I think, from my time there, figure out what we were gonna do. Like, honestly, none of us came knowing exactly what we wanted to do. I wanted to go into painting. I wanted to be an studio oil painter, and I ended up in the textile industry.
Right, right.
So
Interesting.
there are things that just happen while you're there, and it is very fluid. It's something that was really important as part of that discovery, and
Right.
also learning all the different techniques, like the fact that the textile department at NESCAD had, I think it had the best, most supplied, I don't know how to word it, but lab and all the equipment. It had the
Yeah,
best studio there,
Yeah.
actually,
yeah.
in the country. So we were able to do what we wanted to do and learn new things.
Yeah.
So the fact that happened, and then we did get a lot of interesting artists, visiting artists that came. That
Yes, yeah,
that was amazing. That was amazing. This, every time someone came, the auditorium was just packed.
yeah.
People were sitting on the stairs because there was not enough seats.
That's
So
awesome.
we were always interested in that, and I think the students really, really appreciated that.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
Dana, thoughts?
Yes. First, I'm going to apologize if you can hear my snoring French bulldog under my
No,
feet.
cannot hear the dog.
Because it's really loud in here. I would say, well, it's also been quite a long time with what Joelle and Elliot has said. I completely concur. I think one of the things that I always love about NASCAD, loved and continue to love, is that your approach to art education and exploration is somewhat unique. I think especially now having lived in the States for well over 20 years, a lot of art schools expect kids to go in already knowing what they want to do and where they want to go with a portfolio. And I think the way that NASCAD approaches the portfolio with it's up to you. We want to understand you. We want to see your expression. We want to see how you think, because kids come from so many different places, whether education wise, what their exposure is, and their lack of exposure is not their fault. And
Right.
I think that the fact that NASCAD allows you that foundation year to really learn and understand. I mean, I came from an okay place, and I went to an art high school, and NASCAD really opened my eyes. I had no idea. So I think number one, the foundation in and of itself of really learning and understanding the direction of what art is there and where you want to go, and helping you figure that out is so critical. I think that then once getting that, really understanding a critique process and critical thinking,
Yes.
not only then combined with what's going on in the world and what has happened, which is why I think art history was also so important to me as well while I was there. All of that, it really starts to put together just a different way of observing and thinking, and not only about the world, but yourself at the same time, applying that to whatever your art might end up being. And then I think, the guidance that comes into it with on the practical sense, like what Elliot was saying as well, needs to be intertwined where it is that comes into it. And for me, I went on a practicum to Paris with a publication company when I was there. And that is what really at that point grounded. I was like, oh, like I'm working with all these amazing artists, but now I'm seeing real life, if you will, paths of how it can actually be practically applied.
Right.
As of course, I was not going into just specifically fine art, but I think regardless of what direction you go, having those types of practicums or visiting speakers or whatnot to
Right.
be able to come in and really help at the right time, be able to give kids the idea of where it is they might want to go and what they might want to do for themselves. So
Cool. Okay, that's actually really, really, all of these are such great comments, everybody. So wonderful. Ken, what about you?
I think that there's a common theme here, and that is that ability to explore. And
Yes.
one of the things that makes NASCAD so rich, and it was so great for me, and I'm looking at you, Rose, right now, is that foundation year. the ability to go in and not really know what you want to do,
Uh-huh.
but that you want to create, you want to make something. That foundation year is so important, and I've heard rumors of it disappearing and around other schools, and I'm so glad that NASCAD has retained that foundation year. Some things that I think that are really important, and just to piggyback on what Elliot has said, and a couple of other folks have said, is that those skills that allow you to practice as an artist after graduation, and that is, how to get a bank loan, how to write a grant application, how to do
Business,
all of
the business side of,
the business
yeah, the
side of it.
business
That
side.
it
Yep.
sounds kind of dirty when you're at NASCAD, because you're
No.
not going to become a business person. You're an artist, but you still have to function.
Right,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so those skills, and I know you have the entrepreneurship center now. Didn't exist when I was a student at NASCAD, so that's one great step there. One of the things that really I felt held NASCAD together, and I think it still does, is that sense of community. That there is that one giant community of NASCAD, but then there's the smaller communities, the students who are in photo, or the students who are in fashion textiles, the students who are in painting. They all have their own community, and that is the gel that holds many students there.
Yeah,
And retention is not easy for any higher education institution, because it's competitive.
yeah,
But when you have a group of folks who like each other, want to be around each other, and want to learn with each other, that's really great for retention. So I hope that NASCAD continues to foster that sense of community, the global, but in the micro community as well.
yeah.
Yeah. The last
I'm
thing I
writing
really
notes while everybody's speaking, so if you see me look again, I'm writing. Okay.
indeed. I
Sorry.
think one more thing that I would love to see NASCAD continue to do
Yeah,
is to evolve. And that evolution could be new technology,
yes.
but it might also be new programming.
Yep.
And I know that might sound controversial. I'm a photo
No.
major, and I'd be so upset if
No.
you ever got rid of the photo program. But I hope that NASCAD will continue to evolve.
Yeah,
And that is to really see what's important in the artist community globally. How can NASCAD respond to that? And what are our students asking for? So maybe students are asking for skills that aren't currently being offered at NASCAD. So that
okay,
willingness to continuously evolve, I think, will leave us, really current and competitive against the other institutes around Canada.
yeah. Okay, excellent. Yes, Dana, and then Ashley, I'm coming to you next. Dana?
So one thing to kind of add on what Ken was saying,
Yeah.
and I don't know because I haven't been in Halifax for quite some time, but I do love about it is that you are a university town and you
Yeah.
have all these other universities at your disposal. So in that essence of like offering something more, like I think when I was there, I was doing theater posters for Dow. So you don't
Yeah.
have a theater program, which is so cool. But if that's an area that you also want to explore, the partnerships between that wealth of educational opportunity that's also there. So there we go.
Partnerships, got it. We're very important. Ashley, what about you? And then Hao Ming, I'm coming over to you. Ashley.
A lot has already been said, and I'll kind of echo some comments here. The dirty word Ken mentioned, business, would be my biggest one. And previous to joining the NASCAD board, that was always something that was really strong in my mind when it came to dealing with NASCAD students as well. I've had lots of internships, and I've had sort of back up, sorry, I'm in the design industry, and lots of NSCC grads, lots of NASCAD grads, and one of the biggest differences was that business sense and that practicality and the realities of the real world, timelines, personalities, marketing yourself. It was kind of, it was a kind of a harsh reality. And I know for myself as well, it was a big transition. And then community would be another one.
Community.
Just ensuring that there's integration and kind of almost like a transition into the broader arts community. And not just Nova Scotia. I think you know, I spent some time in
You
the
mean
past
when
year.
people are leaving to integrate them out, or you mean while they're here? What do you mean
Well,
exactly?
yeah, while they're there,
Okay.
yeah, bring people in, have people
Got it.
aware of NASCAD students before they even graduate, so that they're, you know, thought of for different roles. And that, you know, that works as well with understanding the business from the student perspective, because they get a chance to see behind the scenes of how some of these businesses or organizations work. And then the other element too was seeing if there was some way to expand beyond Nova Scotia as well. I know Nova Scotia is pretty tight knit,
Yeah, no, yeah,
but
yeah.
but yeah, I spent some time in Toronto the past year, and I was specifically living near the OCAD campus, and it was just incredible to see how much activity they have going on, and what a community they've built 24/7. There's always something going on. So yeah, that how to establish that culture.
That's awesome. How Ming, do you want to share any thoughts you have for the future of NASCAD that you think really are important for us to preserve or to build upon?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So what I heard, and also this is a recent conversation that I had with one of a Canadian diplomat that I met last week. One of the things they mentioned, and also I was really interested, is that we have such a huge number of international alumni
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Not just in North America, but also in Latin Americas and also in Asia populations. Well, speak of Asia because like Chinese student, we have a lot of Chinese grad who
Mhm.
was talented and complete their academic degrees here at NASCA University. But once they back to their original countries, they kind of lose the connections with us. So I know Peggy has been doing some of the reconnections with United States, Europe, and also I was wondering if we can see in the future in some Asian countries as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Rose, do you want to add anything? I don't think you're muted. You can just, no, you are muted. Sorry. Rose, you're muted. You're muted. Sorry.
There we go. That
Now
means
you are.
maybe you all heard me coughing all the time before.
No,
I'm going to talk as an alumni.
yes, please.
I'm
That's the point. Yeah.
a 1982 BFA grad after I'd done a theater degree at Acadia. And then I'm an MFA grad from 86.
Okay.
And then in 87, I started teaching as an ICA. And I've been teaching in studio and then in foundation since 1990. So I'm going to talk about a little knit and grit stuff, I think, about how I want NASCAD to be. But I agree with everything that's been said. And the word that I had instead of freedom was energy in the classroom.
Okay.
And it takes me to my knit and grit thing I want to talk about is our current attendance policy. And this is important because when I was at NASCAD as a student, no one missed a class, or somebody missed a class. It was a very big deal, and they missed a class because of something really important. And I think what's happened now, even though we have to move on digitally and work with Brightspace, etc., is that, and because of COVID, there's all reasons for this. Our attendance policy now is somewhat, I won't say lax, but I hear of people passing that have missed 6 drawing classes and things like that. And what I'm feeling is that the students aren't maintaining that same kind of critical energy in the classroom where the debates happen, where the real, yeah, that critical theory, the critiques, the challenges, not only technique learning, but all of that other stuff. That's where it happens. And in my last couple of years there, I was kind of sensing that the students didn't value that in class as much as, let's say, in my earlier generation. So I think it's something, and as I'm dovetailing with what everybody else has said, energy, and being able to really explore. And I think that we need to revisit that attendance policy
Okay.
again. Yeah,
Noted, noted.
in the future.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And in a way to um, reinvigorate, right, the energy of the place.
Got it.
And with that, a couple of things about I've already talked at the faculty meetings about curriculum.
Yes.
But I'll just make a note that yes, we need to move in a way that can be much more interdisciplinary. If we have students that want to do more performance related and mix
Yes.
it with an installation, like
Yes,
we're not seeing that as much as we possibly can at the school.
Yep.
And that's a way I think we need to move with that. And with that, I'll give a plug for foundation too, Ken. And that I really feel when foundation was somewhat decimated and made smaller, I think, Joella, is it going to be in a year? It's
Yeah.
quite a bit smaller than that now.
Oh, wow.
You do go on to some courses in the second term, but I think the variety of modules that were once available for students really enhance that discovery in the first year. And you know what happens is that, well, I used to teach foundation painting and now I teach intro painting because foundation painting was one of the courses that was dumped or redundant. And what happens is that our intro painting classes have a ton of people in them, and foundation always did, because that's the only thing they knew to sign up for. Everyone knew painting was a big thing.
right.
So somehow the school has to make these other possibilities more visible for students, and perhaps reintroduce in foundation some more creative courses.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will,
And-
Rose, everything that's academic, I'm gonna pass along to our provost. Because I appreciate hearing them, the attendance and interdisciplinary work. I will pass that information along. So, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Dwayne, I want to make sure, because you are also an alum, that you have a chance. You've been part of this from the beginning with the committee. You've
Yeah.
heard the kinds of things that over the last year, our committee has found as important directions for NASCAD. So I'm wondering if you want to share any of that or any of your thoughts about the future.
Yeah, the business one it's been a common theme throughout our conversations.
Yeah.
There was also a lot of talk about the heyday of NASCAD from the 70s and how we kind of bring that energy back. So I think like I'm hearing a little bit of that too. It wasn't necessarily, there were 70s weren't referenced, but the energy part of it,
The energy, yeah.
I think is
Yeah.
interesting. And
Yeah.
like one thing we have in the strategic plan we talked about is making NASCAD a creative hub. And
Right.
for me personally, I agree. I crave that, but I also wonder about incorporating non-NASCAD creative people, just the community in general.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mixed in with us
Yeah.
and making the alumni feel comfortable to just come through and sit down and be creative or whatever and be immersed in that environment. Like I would love that just
That sounds so cool.
with that energy, you know?
Okay. Welcoming, community,
Yeah.
immersive, intersection of different disciplines,
Different
different
ages.
cultures, different ages, that sort of, yeah.
It'll make it easier for like someone like me who's like mid-career to
Right.
share, collaborate with someone who's junior or someone who's more
Right.
experienced or you
Right.
know.
And that's where we maybe even go into what Hao Ming was talking about, which is engaging our international alumni in ways that we just haven't. I think all of you know that I came in with the commitment to really get in front of alumni around the world and reintroduce them to the university, to NASCAD. And it's been a lot of trips and a lot of effort, but so, so good to meet people. But yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, and I'm an international student, so
yeah.
yeah, I agree with that part too.
So I want to, this is all great. I wrote lots of notes and I want to share with you some of the benchmarks of the next 6 years, sort of where things that are actually planned on the horizon. So you are in the know. Back in 2009, 2010, some of you may know this, NASCAD was being subsidized greatly by the province. And the province basically said, we can't do this anymore. This is not sustainable. So we are going to commission a study to examine why you are not financially viable on your own. And that was back in the time where, do we get folded into Dalhousie? No. Do we do something else? No. So anyway, there were a number of really helpful reports and then a programmatic study, a space study, and all of these things created a momentum for NASCAD. We built the Port campus 2008, and that's when we launched, I believe it was 2008, that campus. And now we find ourselves in another moment in time where 3 campuses are not efficient, they're not accessible, and we are now looking at the need to bring everybody together. Actually, a lot of the things that you spoke about, right? Building community, bringing our artists together, interdisciplinary opportunities, but being back together as a place, the best place to be in Canada, if you want to learn art and design. So we have signed in the fall of 2020 a long-term lease for basically consolidating down at the port. I think all of you do know this. We get asked a lot what's happening with our assets. And Bill Barker, who's on the call, is also, I guess, in your own way, an alum. You did take some classes, but he is our board chair. So he's here as well as the board chair. It was decided that we would consolidate. We own outright the Fountain campus on Duke Street and the Academy campus at the corner of Brunswick and Sackville. We own those. Those are our assets. And people ask, well, what are you doing with them? Are you selling them? We don't know what we're doing, but we will try to make the best possible business decision for the future of NASCAD. That is all I can really tell you. But there is a legislation coming down provincially that by 2030, we have to be accessible. We, along with everybody else. It's going to be a very challenging time for the universities because many of us have old buildings. Anyway, we took that to heart, and it's one of the driving factors, but it's not the main one. The main one is we really want to be back together. So that is happening. 2030, 31 is where we are aiming to have that consolidated campus moved in. Recently, some of you may know this, some of you may not. All of the universities in Nova Scotia heard from the provincial government certain things that are going to change for us. Funding structures are going to change. Housing requirements are going to change. A lot of things are changing. So I'm going to share some of those highlights because for this strategic plan, we absolutely have to build that. We have to align with where the government says it's going because it is a partner for us. So one of the things that we're looking at is growing our student population up until 2030. So as we build out this plan, some of you talked about new programs, some of you talked about new ways of partnering with the universities. We're looking at all of that, exploring all of that. Our 800 or so student count right now is actually not sustainable. I'm just going to let you all know. It's just not. We can't afford to do what we're doing with 800 students. So over the next 6-7 years, we're looking at growing that number to a number that will help us be sustainable. right now. These are the boring, but I'm going to talk business with all of you because y'all said you wanted to talk business. So let's talk business. Right now we are 99.9% dependent on tuition. And if our enrollment numbers dip, if retention dips, we find ourselves desperately figuring things out, running deficit budgets, which none of us want to do. So by 2030, I'm putting into place for us that the tuition will constitute no more than 75% of the revenue needed to run this university. The other 25% must come from other revenue streams, diversified, auxiliaries, new ways of doing business. I don't know, we're building that out in the plan, but we need to be more financially viable and responsible. We are going after large sums of money. This is something that's very new for NASCAD. And I'm pretty sure one of the reasons why I'm here right now with you as your president, because this is something I've done a lot in the past. So Kara Holm, whom you've all met, and I are out meeting foundations, donors. We go wherever they are, and we're looking at ways to bring in new money for NASCAD. So I want to share a couple of things. Who was it that said, please don't get rid of photography? Was that you, Ken? Okay. We're not going to get rid of photography. In fact, one of the things that we just went to Toronto to ask for was $350,000 for new equipment for our photography program, because it's so outdated. And it looks like that's happening. And we also ask whoever talked about the guest artists, we also ask for $365,000, same donor, to fund a visiting artist program that takes us back to the kinds of high profile artists, designers, people that we brought in the past. We want to get back to that. We are bringing in amazing people. We just, again, it's on a shoestring. So we are seeking, so it looks like that is going to happen. If you don't know, in the last few months, we brought in $500,000 for our fashion and textile program. Brand new money, all new. So while it feels very slow to me, I will tell you this is very fast for an institution that has had no real history of this. So over the next 6-7 years, the life of this plan, we have to raise a lot of money for capital, a lot of money for programs, a lot of money for a lot of things. So the strategic plan that we'll roll out will have several audiences, and I just need you all to understand this. We will have the NASCAD audience, all of you, our faculty, our students, our staff. Dwayne can attest to this. We spent an entire year talking about what is the language that feels right for when we describe ourselves. What is that? What are our values? What's important to us? And am I right, Dwayne? We spent a lot of time talking about the actual words. You will see that reflected in our institutional pledges, of which we will have 3 overarching big pledges. So we'll roll that out with all of you at another time. So the audience of a lot of you, of NASCAD, we want you to see yourselves in this plan. We have an audience that is the board, because it has fiduciary responsibility for the life and the future of the institution. And we have an audience of the government. And you are going to see language and accountability that will speak to all of these different audiences. So I need you to understand that's what this plan is. I was told in my first, 3 weeks of being here, Ken, you may even remember this. A couple faculty came in and said, please don't use the words strategic or plan. We don't like that here. And Dwayne, didn't I do well? I didn't use those words for a whole year, but I'm back to using those words because it has to be for all of our audiences. So we're looking at consolidating at the seaport. We're looking at building up our student body and our numbers. We're looking at bringing back food. Food is really important to bringing a sense of community. You know, we have a lot of housing insecurity. We're looking at how we can start to provide housing, student accommodations for our students. So we're looking carefully at that. So we are looking at all of these things, friends. So I just want you to know that this is a heavy, heavy lift for we're that little engine that's going up the mountain. And the last thing I want to just share, and then I'll again open it up. NASCAD has never really been in front of the federal government. Not really. I don't think we've ever had a formal ask that I could find a paper trail for, not one in the history of our institution. So we now have, we've asked for money. We've been in front of 8 different federal offices. And I want you all to know this. They are, to a person, thrilled to see NASCAD at the table. They're thrilled to know that we are holding down the whatever on this for Atlantic Canada, that we're one of 4 in Canada. And people want to help us. So I want you to know that. We are also in front of the provincial government, and we're looking at ways that we can align with their priorities. And what are those? Healthcare, workforce development, housing, immigration, and well, that's it, really. Culture is important because it kind of ties into a number of those categories. But if you hear us talking that language, it's because that's one of our audiences, and we do rely on our government. So that's what I can share with you. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Dwayne.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in a little bit on the language bit too.
Yes.
Just to say, yeah, it really was a little bit prickly in some ways. And so I would just, I guess I'm saying this to limit expectations to some degree, or not limit expectations, but I don't know, to just say, if you don't feel 100% that identifies with your vision of what NASCAD is, the challenge is realized how multidisciplinary the school is. And like, as Ken mentioned, like, we're trying to be forward thinking about, so that could mean possibly more disciplines being integrated in the future. So some people don't like the word creative being used. So, you just have to figure out.
Wayne, some people didn't like the word students being used. They didn't call students. I mean, really, it was a year, and I learned a lot. And I value every moment of that experience. I really did. I learned a lot of things I, need to rethink how I say what I say.
Yeah.
Peggy, can I?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, first of all, thanks just for filling us all in on a number of things that I didn't know about, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
And I think that, I have great fondness for the institution, and I still love it very much. And I think that it's in a really unique position right now because of the kind of tension that's on universities across the country. And there's so many institutions that are struggling financially and trying to figure out how they're going to be sustainable going forward. And I feel like NASCAD has this great opportunity because they're so unique to what they do. There's only 4 in the country, and we're the only one on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So all these other institutions are going to be like scrambling to figure out what we can cut.
Right.
We just have to do what we do really, really well, and prove that we are worth our weight in gold.
Yes.
And I think that that's a really great place to be in, because you're not overlapping with as many institutions. And the creative thing, which programs to add, which ones to change, all of that will take time to sort out. And I know at TMU, that's the creative school is going through all that right now. And it's just it's a it's all part of that envisioning of what is the future of education.
Right.
And I think that the thing, which goes back to a lot of the conversations and things we were saying earlier, but there's this really great English educator who's passed away named Sir Ken Robinson, and he did a talk on TED back in 2006 and talked about the fact that creativity was the most important thing to educate people for in the future.
Right.
Because the models that we came up with for education for the 20th century don't work anymore, because we don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And I think that and art schools kind of always embodied that in a way that others haven't. But I think we can really embrace that. And we, talk about going back to the 70s. It's not going back to the 70s. It's just becoming something that feels, whole again.
Right.
And rejuvenated and has that kind of creative energy and exploration and openness to try things. And I think that'll be great.
That is so well put. And I want to remind everybody that the 70s had some really cool things, but they were not a time for people that didn't look like the majority. They were pretty much erased. So while we romanticize this sort of legacy of NASCAD, and I think we all do, and there's nothing wrong with that, we just need to remember we're more than that. We're way more than that. The world has changed. Who we are, who we want to be, it's changed, and we have to change with it. We really do.
Yep.
And yeah. So yes, Rose, yes.
There, unmute. I was struck by the three groups that you talked about in the strategic planning and how the language might be different for each of them. But it occurs to me that NASCAD in recent years has had another problem, or a challenge, we'll put it that way. And that is, and it's a fourth group, I'd say, that we need to really pay attention to. And that's the general public.
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I can't tell you, we haven't been visible enough out in the general public.
I agree.
Like, I can't tell you how many times I say, oh, I teach at NASCAD, and someone goes, NSCC? Right. So we need to do better with that. And I think a lot of the comments about the architecture of the new buildings spoke a lot to that, about visibility and presence. So we want to rebuild our NASCAD community, but also our links to the outside community in a positive way. Yeah.
In our remaining time, for those of you that joined a little bit late, I'm keeping this to an hour tonight rather than 90 minutes. So if there's anybody who's joined who hasn't shared their thoughts, Bruce, hi, go ahead. Hi, Bruce. I see your hand, but
sorry, I am late.
I'm sorry about.
I caught up in something else, so I missed everything you were saying. So everything that I'm going to be saying is said in kind of blindness, state of blindness. Rose, maybe I could ask Rose, what did you say about architecture?
Oh, in some of the discussions we had at the faculty town hall, we were talking about in comparison to the port, where you can't even see in, you don't know it's even a university, how much we want to see out in the public, big glass windows, natural light, and people seeing in. And I
would call the port campus the big black Bauhaus box. And all the windows are placed so that on the side which people can't see in. That's always disturbed me, the way that it didn't even acknowledge its presence. And it was a building that didn't want people to know what was going on inside it.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so yeah, you've been talking to all kinds of politicians.
Yes.
I have a really cynical point of view about that. I don't think we can trust any of them. They'll tell you what they think you want to hear, and then they'll reimagine everything as how you can help them. when they talk about realigning to political realities, they mean give us something that we can run on in the next election to show that we've been doing a good job. I
Yeah,
don't, I mean, I think, I mean, we have to deal with them, but everybody loves art until they have to pay for it. And so anyway, we have to deal with them. So I see you're working, you know, really hard at it and have a good attitude towards how you deal with them. But I mean, they bailed on, you know, they've bailed on so much stuff, and they've always got a supposedly good excuse for it. So, you know, I wonder why do we frame our concerns in their language? We don't even think they're going to really respond to that. So anyway, that's just, I mean, this is not my problem. This is just my attitude. So good luck. That's all I can say is good luck.
okay.
And
Well,
you know, the alumni and I assume everybody on this call is certainly behind your efforts,
Thanks.
which are you know, Herculean.
they are.
Um,
I'm building really big muscles,
yeah, exactly.
eating lots of spinach.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, then thanks, Peggy, for this. And again,
You're
sorry I
welcome.
missed the
That's
first
okay.
part, but
If I may respond just really quickly.
yeah.
Government to me, y'all should just hear it again from me. Government respond to what the polls say are
Mhm.
to the body politic, to the
Mhm.
populace.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have seen the data, the recent data that is provided to us by pollsters and also by Universities Canada of the top things that are really important to Canadians.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, the things that are really important to Canadians are in fact suddenly the things that are now really important to politicians. I get it. But you know what? They should be important to us too. We're here, we're serving this country, we're serving people from all over the world, but we are a Canadian institution. So I don't have a problem when I hear we have to be able to provide 15% beds by 2025 to 2027, somewhere in. We've got to have 15% of beds for our students. I think that's reasonable. I don't think that's ridiculous. And if the government won't pay for it, then, oh, you missed this, Bruce. That's why I think we need to not rely on tuition as the only revenue for this university, because then we're trying to fund everything off the back of students. I'm not okay with that. So we need to get that number down to 75%, and then we need new ways to earn revenue. So that's
Yeah,
what
the thing that really bothered me about their press release or their announcement was that they expect universities to do all this and that and the other thing, but
do.
they're not going to fund it. And if
that's
it
right.
works out, it'll be good on them. I especially didn't like that kind of larcenous mandating of a 9% increase to
The
international students. That was really horrible. You know.
We can have, we can have that conversation.
Yeah, no.
Into
Who
my
wants? I don't want to.
But for the future of NASCAR right now,
Yes, I know.
I'm
That's
very focused on what we
yeah,
can
of
do.
course. Of course.
And I'm gonna turn to Ken because I see
Yeah.
his hand up. And then
Okay, thanks. Thanks again, Peggy.
absolutely.
Peggy, I just really wanted to say thank you. This
you're
is the first
welcome.
time in my recent memory that alumni have been invited to the table.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
first time that our voice, and we are the largest group of
Yeah.
NASCAD folk. It's the first time our voice has been wanted and desired. So I just wanted to say thank you, because I think that in order for NASCAD to grow, it needs to grow as a team and as a
Agreed.
family.
Agreed.
And that includes all of us. So thank you for this evening.
I want to thank you, but I definitely want to do a shout out to Trina. She worked hard to set this up and organize this. So Trina is really a godsend to all of us. So thank you, Trina. Okay, last comment, Elliot, going to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up with Ken and say that, it's great to be involved, and that, if you need more help, let
Thank
us
you.
know.
Okay, you know what? I will, for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Bill, before we leave, I realize you haven't spoken and you are our board chair. Do you want to say anything? You're muted. I live that. It's like a
That's right. Her favorite word, unmute.
favorite. You're muted.
And except when you need to mute. Anyway, thanks very much, Peggy. I don't know everyone here, but I know quite a few people already. And I actually am technically now an alumnus of the school.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've taken enough courses. And I even have one of my teachers here to prove that I have attended. And so I just want to say this is a big I used to be a university president. I sort of know what's happening here, and this is a very, very big shift that's happening. And it's a really terrific change, and Peggy seems to have the energy for it, which I find astonishing how much is needed.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important for everyone to stay involved with this as much as possible, really because as things get closer to the kind of finalizing of how things look and where things are going, there's going to be certain paths people are going to start heading down, and those paths will be followed. And so it's very good for people to participate in something like this, to let us know what you're doing. And I have to say, a lot of the words I've heard before, also listening to students and also to faculty and also to the board. And community is probably one of the biggest words that keeps appearing, and how to make that work. And I think moving to a unified location, and actually it doesn't hurt to have it slightly off the beaten path, because the thing that Rose is worried about, people not coming into class and so on, they're going to have to be there. And so
They'll want to.
yeah, but it's there to, and once you're in it, you get drawn in. And the thing I found most exciting about being a student at NSCAD is the intense classroom atmosphere, the exchanges of ideas, the ability to steal things from your fellow students, not materials, of course, just ideas, and what that gives you as a participant in that is really quite extraordinary. And I think it's a kind of education that really should be in all universities and all programs. But art school, you seem to have it more than anywhere else. That is the critique of your work and so on, that by fellow students who would never see your work in a regular university. Anyway, I think that I just want to thank you all very much for participating. It was great hearing a lot of these ideas, and some of you I'm going to be seeing in the next little while, fellow board members, and others I hope to meet at some point when there's a social event or something like that. Anyway, thanks very much, Becky.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. And Dwayne, my wonderful co-chair, thank you for all that you do, because it's just means a lot to me to have you as the co-chair of this
Thank you.
endeavor, this trip.
I appreciate that. I would say you did reach out to Student Alumni early. So
I did right at the beginning. I surely did. Yeah. We have our warts, we have our things that didn't go well. We have our, we have all of that, and all we can do is one step in front of the next, right? And be honest and transparent and kind, and try to bring joy back into our buildings and joy back into the world of art and design, because really that's what I want all of you to have. Thank you all for being with us tonight. And Trina, you're a goddess. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate
Thanks a lot.
really, really helpful. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.